Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the BeBall Jones podcast. I'm your gracious host, BeBall Jones, and I have another interview for you guys. These interviews are fun, man. I like having guests on, and this guest today is pretty strong man. And somebody saw him one day, like, man, you're a pretty strong guy. How about you train my players to be pretty strong? And then he just ended up training basketball players to be strong for a living. And I'm pretty sure that's how the story went. So if it is, we're just gonna go with it. But shout out to Larry for this connection, for this gentleman we have coming on to the interview right now. But I'll bring to the stage right now, Mr. Emeka. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Brian, man? Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the hospitality. To kind of echo off of you, man, big shout out to Larry, because when people get together, you always gotta want to know like how did the linkage happen, and it was through my boy Larry with the Phoenix Suns. So big shout out to him. Big salute.
Larry Legend. That's a good guy right there, man. Made this connection happen. So shout out to Larry, man. He's great people, man. Hopefully he can get him a ring while he's in the NBA level, man. Really hoping for that. But shout out to Larry for this one.
For sure.
So yeah, man, why don't you tell the people who you are and exactly what you have going on?
Oh man. Well, my occupation is a strength coach. I feel like it's so much more than that. I guess the question is like, how did I get into strength and conditioning? It was kind of weird. I broke my leg playing flag football my sophomore year in college. And when I was going to PT, it's the first time I've ever seen a physical therapist. Like, they dressed professionally. They were around weights. So I told myself, like, yo, I want to do that. And I knew I could have took two routes. I could have took a route, been an athletic trainer, and do stuff that's kind of similar to PT to kind of set me up. Or I could have took more of the performance route and do personal training to kind of set me up for PT school. So I did the personal training route. Was a personal trainer for my junior and senior year. My GRE score couldn't piss water. So I was talking to my professor. I'm like, yo, I cannot cut this GRE out. Like, I do not want to study for this. And he told me, Emeka, looks like physical therapy school may not be in your future, but you should look into strength and conditioning. And I was like, what is strength and conditioning? Is then like personal training? And then so when I read more on the strength and conditioning, it was actually applied science. And I found this college called Georgia College. So big shout out to Dr. Martino in Milledgeville. And the reason why I chose that college was, like, number one, the curriculum was good. And Dr. Martino had a lot of people in his network. And I know, like, if you want to get anything in life, you always want to go somewhere that's going to help expand your network. I did his program for 2 years. Through his program, I was the head strength coach for the men and women's tennis team, women's volleyball. I helped with men's basketball. And during that program, he first taught me how to be adaptable. I remember the first ever session. We had 13 battle ropes suspended upon a pole, and he showed me each battle rope exercise. And after 5 minutes, he says, okay, you got the rest of the volleyball team, and the workout's going to be 40 minutes. And I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to remember these 12 battle rope exercises? But so big shout out to Doc. He taught me how to be adaptable. Every month, me and the other GA would like show him our strength trainer program. He would always ask us like, why did you put this particular exercise in the equation? And if I didn't have an answer for it, he pretty much bled all over my programs. I would go back and come up with another exercise and have a reason behind it. So I did his program for 2 years. After my first year in grad school, I tried to apply for an internship, either at Exos or Eric Cressy. Didn't get either. My second year, I applied for Exos. I had an interview, but it was after I accepted Eric Cressy. And actually, I'm going to have to rewind this back. A funny story is 2012, when I was in my senior year in college, I wanted to like learn what are the top strength coaches out there are doing. And I came across this book called Athlete's Performance at the time, which is now called Exos. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You have a strength coach, physical therapist, massage therapist, and skill coach all working under one roof. And I saw their headquarters was in Phoenix. And it was then I actually first had the dream of me actually working at Exos at that particular Phoenix location. I didn't get the internship my second year in grad school. I decided to take Eric Cressy. But the internship was amazing. I got done with the internship, and I was able to still connect with people from Exos. Somebody from Exos reached out to me and told me, "What do you think about getting in pro baseball?" I said, "Shoot, yes, let's do it." So through text messages, I was able to get a job with the Padres. Never applied for that job, so big shout out to Exos for helping me out, or Athletes Performance at that time. I was a strength coach for the Padres for 2016. 2017, I was at IMG Academy, and that was amazing. We had 100 athletes sometimes between two strength coaches, and the setup was crazy. Like the workout was an hour long. The first 30 minutes, people are outside doing skill work with 50 guys. The other 30 minutes, the other 50 guys or kids are in the weight room lifting. And after 30 minutes, you will flip. So when you're outside doing the skill coach, it taught us how to do two or three things. You had to know how to position yourself so you can echo your words and people can hear it. And then number two, it taught you how to be concise with your cues because you're dealing with a lot of times with like middle school kids and their attention span is short. And then three, it taught you how to negotiate because of a middle schooler is not going to do the drills that you want them to do. You kind of have to play like a movement game with them and tell them like, hey, if we do these drills right and execute it, then we'll play another movement game at the end. And so that was a way to get buy-in with middle school kids. Um, so I did IMG in 2017. 2018, I'm back home personal training. The guy who actually interviewed me at Exos, name is Jake Hicks. He sends me a text message and say, "Hey, what do you think about working for Exos at our satellite location in Oklahoma?" I like shoot yes. So again, that was another job that I never had to apply for. I did Exos for 2 years in Oklahoma, working 79 hours a week, 15 hours a day, showing up at the gym at 4:50 in the morning and not leaving to 8:30 p.m. We had 13 sessions in 15 hours back to back to back to back to back to back. And if you want to talk about learning how to work hard for a long period of time and learning how to be adaptable, I think that was a job that really taught me that. Um, so I did Exos in 2018, 2019. I went to a tactical conference, which is pretty much a conference with a lot of like military strength coaches. And that was cool. I got like 5 or 6 people's contacts. Over the course of the next 6 months, people were hitting me up while I was at Exos saying, "What do you think about working in the military?" I was like, "I'm good." This new opportunity opened up at Luke Air Force Base. It was a unique position, one of its kind, where we're actually going to start to build a performance team to train Air Force fighter pilots. And I was like, "Well, shoot, yes, let's try it out." So I was at Luke Air Force Base from 2019 to September of 2022. That was amazing. I got a chance to go on a fighter jet a couple times. Got a chance to go to Top Gun a couple times. Um, Amazing clientele, amazing performance staff. Um, and then randomly, while I'm sitting down at lunch eating, I get a random text from the director of performance from Dallas Mavericks, and he puts me in a group text with Daniel Bove, our director of performance with the Pelicans. And they said, "Hey, would you be interested in the job? We're working with the Pelicans G League team." And I said, "I'm interested." Next thing you know, one conversation led to another, and here I am. I just got done with my first season as the head strength coach for the G League team for the Pelicans Birmingham Squadron.
Hmm. That's a lengthy little background right there, man. You got a lot of stories in that one, man.
I got a few. I got a few.
I think the interesting thing, man, is that how, like you said, you didn't have to go through a lot of the process that the average person would. You basically skipped the line because you were just a text or a phone call away from the right person. How did you end up getting that relationship to happen to where it's like, oh man, it's just like, hey, you want to do this? All right, cool. How'd you get that relationship in a situation to where you could do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, give me a second to think. I think it comes down to probably two things before action. Like, do you have a genuine curiosity to learn and get better? And then do you have a genuine care for people? Like, you want to see people better. So I think through that curiosity, you find people to reach out to, and ask them questions like, can you please tell me your path and how you got to where you're at?
Mm-hmm.
What motivates you? What books you read? And when you reach out to people and you ask them those questions, they can't wait to help you out. And when they see that you're a young, hungry, curious, humble coach, when opportunities open up, organically they just kind of get bestowed upon you. Um, let's see. Let's see if I can talk about an example. I remember when I was getting the job in basketball, every single person I've interviewed or I met at a conference, every time a job opened up, I would literally hit up every single person that I interviewed and say, like, hey, do you know this head strength coach? If you do, can you put in a good word? But also after the interview, anytime it was somebody's birthday, I would say, hey, happy birthday. Hope all is well. If I came across an article that is there of their interest, I'll send them that article and tell them, what do you think about this? Um, Through knowing their story, I find out other people and colleagues they know in the industry. And if I meet another colleague through, social media or in person, I would take a picture. I don't just take pictures just to take pictures. And I would take that picture and put in a group text. That way I'm still staying relevant with those people. And, I guess one thing always leads to the next.
Mm. So how could someone basically use that to be in a similar situation like you, to where I have the connections like you? Because, like, yes, I could be curious, and yes, I could be, a good person, so on and so forth. But, like, how do I even get my foot in the door to be like connected to this one person?
I think first you have to take time to set aside and know what career path you want to go down and what sector you want from that career path. I think you need to know what location or locations you want to work in. And I really am a big believer about dreaming because once you create a dream and the dreams in detail of where you want to go, and you start thinking about it every day, 5 minutes before you go to bed and 5 minutes when you wake up in the morning, then through us being goal oriented humans, organically, you just start to find people to reach out through LinkedIn, Instagram, social media, in person. Um, what was your question again? I'm sorry, I kind of got
No,
sidetracked.
just basically, how can I get that first connection to where it's kind of like the domino effect? Like, I don't have anybody in my circle right now that is the strength coach or whoever that is connected to where I want to get to. So what can I do to be in that position where I get that first person to unlock those doors for me?
For sure. I think always being vulnerable to say what you don't know and always being willing to talk to people. So if you meet people at a conference, get their name. And a good, easy question or icebreaker is tell them, like, hey, do you have 5 or 10 minutes to talk? And if they agree to yes, just say, like, hey, so what made you get into this field? What made you get into this sector? And would you mind sharing with me your story as quick as possible? I
Mm.
think when you do that, people are willing to open up to you and show interest. And then when you leave the conversation with them, ask them, like, hey, is there any way I can get some sort of contact from you? Can I get your phone number? Can I get your email? Can I get your social? Me, I always get the number and some type of social media platform. And when you do get that, try to stay relevant. Follow their pages. If you see something that's along the line of them, ask them a question. Again, know when their birthdays are, wish them happy birthday. And I feel like, organically something's going to happen.
Mm. So what about for a player? Like, a player wants to get in certain circles and higher levels of groups. Like, how could a player get in better situations to where they're in, just better basketball circles? Do you have any advice for them?
I feel like your character is going to take you far. So, character probably starts, up until high school, college, and the pro setting. So, you know, we all know each other, coaches, strength coaches. So if people have labeled you as a hard worker, if people labeled you as a curious person, people have labeled you as somebody who's always goal oriented, then they're going to try to open up ideas and possibilities for you. If you didn't have any of those three things, it's not too late. I think if you want to find a good strength coach, you tap into your strength coach in high school and college and ask them like, what strength coach should I follow? And the one that speaks best to you, you follow them for strength training advice and maybe train with them. For skill coach, um, you know, you find, I don't know, your favorite players, figure out who their PD coaches are, figure out people who are not as famous working with those PD coaches, reach out to them, ask them like, how did you get in with that PD coach? How much does he charge you? Did he
And
give you a
PD is personal
discount?
development, right?
Yeah, personal development. Yeah,
Okay, you keep going.
because
I just
like
want clarification.
for sure. But I think once you find out with the PD development, like how does somebody lower than the NBA guy was able to work with them? You figure out like again how much it cost. Um, did he give you a discount? And I think through that way you're able to find a way to get your PD guy and strength guy and whatever else you want.
Mm, okay, okay. So someone's like we kind of in a place now where people are kind of somewhat antisocial, kind of standoffish in a way. So like if I'm a lone wolf type of guy, I like to do things on my own. Why would I even care about building these relationships and getting to know people when I've been doing all right by myself? So like, why should I even care about building relationships and having the people around me like that?
Well, I mean, how are you going to get noticed? I mean, if you do good work, you're going to retain the few people you have. If you do good work, the few people you have through word of mouth is going to help you acquire more people. But if you want more quantity, not necessarily quality, if you want more quantity and hopefully you deliver quality, then you got to tap into your network. And networking is through people, is through social media and that type of stuff.
Mm,
Um, if you are introverted and it's hard for you to talk to people and have conversations, then I think you need to follow 3 or 5 people, maybe who are your friends or people that you follow on social media who are truly extroverted. Watch them, study their habits, hear how they articulate their conversations, watch their posture, kind of get an understanding of how they think. And I think if you hang around those people long enough and you try it yourself, then maybe you can be a little bit more extroverted and
mm.
accomplish whatever task you want to accomplish.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to that one. I'm definitely more introverted than extroverted, but I've always kind of been able to flip the switch when I needed to. But even with that, I would always end up being around like a popular person or extroverted person. And that'll kind of be my escape route to where I don't have to know everybody, but they know everybody. So I'm gonna know everybody because I'm with them and they know everybody. So that's the easy little hack that I had, man, to where, you know, all the way through school and, different jobs I've had where I didn't go out and meet every single person, but I shake one or two people saying get to know them. They be like, "Oh man, such and such over here." Yeah, man, connecting with them, and then I'm running around the whole world knowing everybody, man. So, um, I think that's an important piece that um, introverts can take note of. But I think the extroverts can also need some advice too. How can an extrovert network but not make it so just too much for the introvert? Like, how can a extrovert network and make it a little bit better for them?
Oh, I got you. So, how could a networker and how could an extrovert improve their networking ability?
Yeah.
Uh, well, I'm gonna be biased and speak on myself because the old me was like, I'll throw myself in the fire and figure it out afterwards. Um, I think being extrovert, I have a tendency, or we have a tendency to just say whatever comes to our mind, and based off the responses we get from people, we tend to adapt. I think over the years, I've become a better listener. Sometimes if
Mm,
I jump into an environment, if I'm around like five, like let's say GOAT strength coaches, I'll walk in the room. I would just kind of see their temperament, hear how they talk, what conversations are they talking about, what's their tone of voice, what's their body posture, and if it is appropriate for me to interject, I would try to mimic what the other coaches are doing. For example, like if they're not really handsy people and they talk with a low tone of voice, and I jump into the conversation and blurt conversations that's completely irrelevant to what they're talking about, I'm using my hands a lot. Then
Mhm.
they're gonna be like, "Well, who is this dude? Like, get him the f out of here." But if I take time to just listen and they see me in the room and I kind of see what body posture they have and I kind of adopt that. Oh, they talk with a low tone of voice. Okay, bet that. I'm gonna talk with a low tone of voice, and it kind of sparks more organic conversations because that's how you build
Hmm.
relatedness. Mimic people.
Hmm. I kind of heard how body language is a very good key of understanding someone, but it's more of like to tell if they're actually listening or not. And so if I'm talking, it's like a group of people, say it's like 3 or 4 people, I can tell it's like really detailed listening to me if they start mimicking my body language. So if we're talking and I start rubbing my chin and out the blue, you start rubbing your chin, and I'm like, okay, he's really listening to me. Or I start scratching my head out the blue, you start scratching your head, okay, they're really listening to me. So I think that's a intentional way to show that you're listening to someone if they're aware of that. But I think that body language also good from the other end of it too, to where you can tell someone might not be as interested or they might not want to be in the conversation. So I think body language is a hidden key in communication. And so, do you have any more like body language tips that someone can use to read, or anything they can do to be like more confident in that conversation?
Well, let me flip a question back at you. Like, if you got 5 people in the room and you think they're all credible, will you listen to all 5 people, or would you listen to the people that kind of mimic what you're doing using the same? If you use hands, then they use hands. If you talk with a lower high tone of voice, they do the same. If they mimic your body posture, like I guess what you alluded to, scratching your face, are you more likely to hear the words that are coming out their mouth? Because most of the time when people talk, it's like I can't wait. As you're talking, I already have a thought in my mind and I can't wait to regurgitate it. So I guess my question to you is, if somebody's mimicking what you're doing, are you more likely to listen to them? If you're in a room with 5 credible people, or you just listen to all 5 people because they're all credible?
Probably listen to all five, to be honest with you, and just deciphering between them of what either I can relate to or what I need to know. So probably listen to all five.
How do you determine if all 5 people have like slightly different points of views, how do you determine which advice to add to your toolbox or way of thought, and then how do you determine which advice to kind of throw out, if that makes sense?
Yeah. If they're all credible, then I'll probably take in all five, but I'd probably immediately apply 1 or 2 of them, just depending on the situation. So if one of them connects to what my immediate problem is, or like my biggest problem, then I'm probably going to send that one the most, or take away from them the most. But um, if not, then I'll probably just toss away whatever the other guys are saying. But probably just depending on what my needs are, just being aware of that, while I'm in the conversation. Because like if we're talking to 5 NBA players and all five are Hall of Fame, I'm listening to all five of them, but I can't listen to what LeBron had to say because, bro, I'm not 6'8". Like, it's only so much I can get from you. But I can listen to Chris Paul. He's closer to my height. So he said something like, okay, let me like tune in a little bit more to you. Now, granted, LeBron James is a
Right.
higher caliber player than Chris Paul, but I'm not finna just automatically take what he says because, like, bro, you're 6'8" and you are athletic freak. So,
Yeah, like his game's gonna be different than your game.
Yeah. So even in a situation, if I'm a player talking to five other players, or I'm a strength coach talking to five other strength coaches, you might be a D1 coach, but for you, you're a G League coach. I might listen to the G League coach or the pro coach over the D1 guy, but the D1 guy might have some nuggets here and there that I need to have. So depending on the situation, will determine more of what I pull from who. But that's my answer.
I remember you also said like you would tend to connect with somebody better if they kind of cater to your needs. So I think that's empathy too.
Mm-hmm.
So, while you're talking, if somebody just sitting there listening, like you finish your sentence, they still pause and see what else you have to say. And they use like small words like, I feel you. I totally
Mm-hmm.
understand. And then they tell you situations of like, yo, when they were in that same predicament in the past. I think that's a way to connect more empathy, which you just alluded to.
Yeah, because if someone can feel heard and seen rather than just talked at, that makes them feel more connected. So, like doing this interview, if I was just sitting here throwing random questions at you that didn't have any sense to what you just said, you would feel like, is he really listening to me? Like, is he comprehending what I'm saying? Like, you probably feel away. But the fact that it's more of a flow and I'm like listening to what you say and have something to say back to you, it's like, oh, he's actually listening to me. So, like, you feel a little bit more connected. So, I think that the connection matters a lot in that. And kind of like what you're saying earlier with the networking and the, having the resources people around you is like, man, he feel like he's a good person, so I don't mind doing something for him or giving him a shot at this opportunity. So yes, you might have the skills and everything required too, but if I got two people to pick from, both about the same skill level, but I actually got a connection, I know he's cool people, that's a phone call I'm gonna have first. So empathy
Exactly.
goes a long way, man.
All the time. All the time.
Look, let's be serious, man. Stop playing around. All right. You didn't got too comfortable. You didn't got relaxed. You forgot that you still got people behind you chasing you right now. You still got people to catch up to. You think just because you won a championship or you had a pretty good game last time that you can relax now. We ain't gonna write none of that stuff. Your goal right now is to look at how you were yesterday. Look at the player you were last night. Figure out how to be better than that person. Right now is you versus you. Your goal right now is to make progress in the person that you were last night, the person that you were yesterday. Be the person this week should be the person from last week. The person this month should be the person from last month. On the court and off the court. Personal development too. So right now, progress is the only goal. We ain't worried about what other people got going on. Focus on progress. It's you versus you. It's me versus me. So that right there is your mission. That's your goal. I don't care about who say the best in state is. Who I don't care about any of that. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. I don't care if you struggling to make the team. I don't care if you the last player they're looking at to make the team. We ain't worried about none of that. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. I don't care if you're the number one player in the nation. Could care less. Your goal right now is to be better than you were yesterday. So go ahead and get you one of these because you need that reminder because you got too comfortable. That's the issue. You got too comfortable. This can't get you comfortable right here. So go ahead, get you a reminder, get you like a flag hanging as a reminder to say progress is on the goal. So how did you use empathy for you, man? Like how did you tie that into getting to where you are, man? Because I think emotional intelligence is very important, and I think that's a slipped on thing, especially as a strength coach. So how did you use that to get into connections of G League?
Well, I don't know if this is going to answer your question, but I think it goes back to like what I was saying, have a genuine care for people. I can
Mm-hmm.
recall a story when I was at Exos, and we were doing 13 1 hour sessions in 15 hours. We had this big wig of a doctor or surgeon, and he had this shoulder pain. And the PT at the clinic, which was upstairs of where I was working at, would
Mm-hmm.
kind of put him off, didn't give him the proper treatment. And I couldn't do enough justice with him because I had him for an hour, but I also had 15 other bodies. I needed time to evaluate him. I needed time to give him uh, variations of exercise of what's best for him that day. And I needed time to kind of execute the cueing and hear more about the other stress that's going on in his life. And I just didn't have that time to do that in that 1 hour session. So I stopped him after the session and I asked him, like, because I was working Monday through Friday, 4 hours Saturday. I had Sunday off. I said, like, hey, do you have any free time on Sunday? Like, I'll take you through an evaluation. I'll train you by myself, like 1 hour every day. We'll do that for about 6 weeks and see what happens. So he comes to the gym Sunday, did my eval, trained it for an hour, did it for about the next, only 4 weeks. And his shoulder pain, at least from the functional movements that we had to do to build fitness, was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a sidetrack, but at one point I wanted to get in medical sales, and he was my biggest advocate. He hit up all the device reps and say, yo, you got to take this guy Mecca because he's a hard worker. He goes above and beyond. He'll identify what the greatest problem is and kind of create a solution. And I think when you do stuff like that, you do more than what the job requires of you. People always remember that. Like they say, um, people don't care about how much money you make; they care about how you make them feel. So if
Mm-hmm.
you took the time to just go above the bare minimum and give them what they want, then they remember that they feel like they owe you.
Mm-hmm. So do you still apply that to the players and stuff that you have right now?
Oh man, it's funny you said that. Like, so when I was looking at my yearly evaluation of what I need to work on more, I actually put down on the top I have to build more rapport.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all me. Out of our 12 guys, there's only 3 guys I feel like I knew about the deaths in their family. I knew about the stresses they got going on. I knew about what's going on with their agents. And I told myself, when next year rolls around, I'm going to try to do a better job of connecting with them. Because sometimes when I wanted to get people to live, they wouldn't live. But that's all me. I didn't build enough rapport. We didn't build
Mm-hmm.
enough rapport as a team. And, I guess if I was to further answer your question, like, what am I going to do next year to build more rapport? I think that first month, I'm going to be even more present. Like, if they need me to get their shots after practice, I'm going to do that. If they don't like the Gatorade shakes that I have after practice, I'm going to make sure I get them the right Gatorade shakes they want. Outside of practice, I'm going to ask a couple of the guys, where y'all going out to eat? I'm going to eat with them. And I'm gonna really make a big point to do that during the first month, and hopefully after that I get more rapport and buy-in. But
How do you manage that though at the G League level when you have guys coming in and out? You got a guy on a 10-day going up to the NBA. You got a guy getting signed and trade. Like, how do you still build that connection with so much going on throughout the season like that?
it's hard. Sometimes you don't. If
Mm,
if a guy's a 10-day, or they're only there for 2 months, like you don't have enough time. Like our weight room
mm,
sessions are only 15-20 minutes. You know, only information I'm able to get, like, yo, bro, how you feeling? When you open up that dialogue, they can kind of, if you have that rapport with them, they'll tell you like, yo, man, my knees bothering me today, or my shoulders bother me today. And then I can ask the next question, like, yo, why does your shoulder bother you today? Like, it didn't bother you yesterday. Oh, when I was jumping up for a rebound with my hands extended, I kind of tweaked it coming down. Then you can have further discussions like, hey, did you tell the athletic trainer? No, I didn't. I thought it'll go away. Okay, so
mm,
now once you're on with the information, if you were doing like some type of shoulder press variation in the weight room, you can do your plan B exercise, maybe give them like a shoulder mobility, connect with the athletic trainer, and then hopefully get a more cohesive uh, approach for him. Um, but yeah, I mean the G League's tough. When guys are coming in and out 10 days, 2 to 3 months, it's not enough time to build rapport. But I think while you're at practice and you do see them, um, if you're always attentive, always watching, um, you generally ask them how they feel, how their
mm,
family's doing, anything that they need extra, if you can provide that for them. And I think if you can hang out with them outside of practice, Sometimes they may not want to because they want their own time. But if you could do that, I think people tend to open up more. They tend to tell you more about themselves, what's going on with their family, their stressors, because it's kind of hard to tell you that when I got 12, 15 other guys in the room. I got to do this task, and everybody's not gonna like everybody. So you
Mm-hmm.
know you got to take them to a safe place, and sometimes that's had outside of practice.
Mm. So how do you manage the relationships between players? Like you said, if somebody doesn't like somebody else, how do you manage that relationship to where it's still conductive and still, not necessarily positive, but we can all get along and, work together?
I mean, I don't even know if it's my place. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's more of the top dogs, like the assistant coaches and head coaches, to resolve. You know, all I could do is just ask the generic questions, man. Like, you good? Everything's going good? Yo, I saw you move, Chain. I saw you weren't practicing hard out there. And based off the advice they tell you, sometimes you just listen. Most of the times you just listen without giving feedback, and hopefully they resolve it.
Mm-hmm.
As a straight coach, that's outside your typically outside your jurisdiction, unless you already got rapport with everybody. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's more top down from the head coaches and assistant coaches. In my biased opinion.
I get that, but I still think that you could play not so say it's a pie chart, right? You might be 5% of it to where they're gonna come see you, they're gonna come live. And so during your 5% stay, you could make it to where um like you might be just a soundboard just for them to get it off. So they might just come to you and vent, man, such and such did this during practice and I didn't like this, or he was trying to ice me out during the game and this happened, whatever it is. That might be the 5% right there. And then the other guy that she has an issue with, you just a sounding board for him too. He gets off his chest and he just, he gets it out on you, but it's not anything to do with the other player. And so I feel like sometimes you could be the Switzerland and be the middle ground for those guys. But you might not even intervene, but just being the coach that I can talk to and listen to before I go lift or in the middle of the lift, I finally get this off my chest. Like I feel like you could do some, impact on the whole situation. So, like you said, it is definitely a top down situation, but I feel like you could have some level of like, I had 5% to do with helping this situation out. So,
Yeah, maybe I think you could, like, number one, listen,
mm-hmm.
and then number two, give them perspective. But I think before you do that, you got to step back and know what their goals are. Like, what do they want from this G League team? Are they trying to get called up? And then what are the metrics to help them get called up? Is it stats? Is it stats and staying healthy? Is it getting the team to win? Maybe it's all three of those. And strength coaches, you can't really change much of that. But once you know their perspective, then you can spin it back at them. So if there's an event that happened at practice or a game, you can tell them to the side after you listen to them, like, hey, bro, you good? Hey, so I remember you told me you want to get to here. Here's how you told me you're going to get to here. You feel like this event is going to help you towards that goal?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can be mad if you want to be mad, but hey, if it's not going to get you to that goal and it's going to affect it, then it's on you. You a grown man. And I think once you listen, so people see that you care, you have empathy, and then you give them perspective of their goals that they already regurgitated to you, then you're more likely to see change. You may not see change, but I think if you listen and get perspective, that's the best you could do. I
Mm-hmm.
think the only other thing you could probably do is go back to culture, but that has to be defined by the head coach and assistant coaches. Like, what are our key values? What do we want our team to be on a daily basis? Maybe work hard, um, uh, communication, because you don't always see communication. Everybody says we're high performance, but we're not really high performance. We don't really communicate like we're supposed to. So then, what goes into communication?
Mm-hmm.
What you say, how you say it, and the time that you say it. Because sometimes you got to get your point across. Like, if I'm if an athlete told me something, I got to give it to the ATC or the head coach. It may not be the appropriate time. I may say it the wrong way where it gets twisted from ATC or head coaches, and it's also what I say. So you always have to look back to when you communicate what you say, how you say it, and is this an appropriate time frame to say it.
Mm.
And with communication, as a staff, you have weekly audits where every month you ask yourselves, each staff asks themselves, what can we do to be better? From our skill set and our communication. And once everybody chimes in and gives you advice, now you have a decision. You have an opportunity to change. And if you change to what the masters of the team wants you to do, then maybe you build a stronger culture from communication. And players are going to see these subtle changes in the staff for the better, and then maybe they're more likely to communicate with you because it's all centered around the athlete.
Mm. I like that because you get in situations where um, it's a lot of ego and pride into it. So the strength coach is try to be, he might try to be like, oh, I'm the reason why we're winning, or I'm the reason why this is that. And the head coach had his ego, and the GM got an ego. Like you see all the time in pro sports where it's like the head coach and the GM got beef, and the owner don't like this player getting attention. And it's just like, I get where you feel like you should have a say so in the role, but it's like at the same time, it's like at the end of the day, the players are the focal point. Like as great as a coach as Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson is, like, or Phil Jackson was, like Michael Jordan was the show. Like Tim Duncan was the show, LeBron, Kobe, whoever. So the minute you start losing perspective of like they're paying their money to see them and not just see you coach, like things start getting weird. And so even at your level, I feel like keeping the player the main focus is the most important piece because that's who we're paying to see. Like as great as you are as a strength coach, I want to see such and such play because I saw them in college or that's my cousin or whoever. So I like that you have that in mind to where the priority is like the player is the first priority for the organization which you have going on. So I
And
think
I
that's
feel
very key
like,
and important.
to your point, I think, and this is just from reading articles or reading a book on Greg Popovich,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some of the things that he established with culture is gratitude. You know, after every practice, he would tell players, "Thank you for letting me coach you." Like, Greg Popovich already got X amount of rings. He's a Hall of Fame coach, but he would tell everybody at the end of practice, "Thanks for letting me coach you." It's something simple. He says it every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what the athlete tends to feel over time, maybe they get annoyed at first, but over time they feel like, "Yo, man, I guess the dude does care about me." And
Mm-hmm.
from what I heard, like after during away games, they would all eat dinner kind of as a family, and he would give everybody a wine glass. Through the wine glass and eating together as a family, they kind of had more of a family feel. So I'm sure he had family and gratitude in his culture bucket. So I think it goes back to, like, again, how to resolve conflict. It all goes back to culture. If the staff or team doesn't identify what the culture is, how
Mm-hmm.
can you as an individual cause change? Maybe number one, listen, and then two, give the athlete or staff member perspective. But you got to know what that person's goals are. And for that person to listen to you, they also have to know that you care.
Mm-hmm.
So when they have tough times, you don't just walk away from them. But, hey, man, I'm here if you need me. If you need me to do something, I got you. Because when you do that, when they have tough times, they're more likely to come and open up to you.
Mm. I think that's important, man. I think you just kind of broke down how to get to that point to where you build a relationship. So first is like show that you care about the person. And then you have the conversations where they feel comfortable expressing their goals, expressing their ideas or whatever. And then the issue comes like we talked about before. If a teammate has issues, like, hey, remember you told me that goal a couple weeks ago, like this is your goal, but does this thing get you to your goal? So now you can have those tough conversations because I can hold you accountable because we homies now. We cool enough to we can have this conversation. But I'm saying it in a loving way, an accountable way, because we're just talking about your goal here. And then once you get past that, there builds another bond. So it's like I think you kind of just broke down how to really connect and build solid relationships, especially from a coach and player perspective, man. So
And I think too, just if you feel like you did justice of building rapport, you always listen, you gave them the perspective. Don't think if a situation happened just because you did all three of those things, the situation is going to be resolved right away like that. Sometimes they
mhm.
listen, sometimes people may not listen. So you got to negotiate. But I think if you do those three things or four things and you can be consistent about it, then, maybe over the course of the season, some positive things happen.
Hey, relax. It's okay. Listen, I understand that your goal is so big that it just feels daunting. It just feels overwhelming. Like you're trying to get to the NBA, you're trying to get to WNBA. You're trying to play D1 college ball. I understand sometimes that feels like a lot. But listen, you're not gonna make that jump from now tomorrow to be to the league or be in D1. So let's just slow down and focus on the whole journey. Enjoy where you're at right now, but don't get too comfortable. You have to still keep working. You still have to make some type of progress and still keep growing. All you gotta do is think about this. If the minimum I can do today is get 1% better, you winning. Because there are some people gonna take a step backwards. There are some people that's gonna stop and just be equal. But technically, you're not gonna be equal because I'm getting better than you, so it means you fell backwards now. And so you gotta get 1% better. Because it's a slow grind from where you're at now to where you want to get to. You don't have to worry about taking over the world in one day. Just take over step by step, one piece at a time, 1% better. It's a whole journey. Okay, you got this goal that's just hanging over you, weighing you down. But this goal, the end destination, it's not gonna change. So you have to appreciate the journey and taking steps to get there. You're a marathon runner, but the whole marathon is about focusing on that next step. So I need you to go ahead and look at whichever one you want. You can get this one, one of the other ones. But I need you to get this reminder for you. Get you a hoodie, a t-shirt, whichever one, as a reminder that progress is my only goal. And progress don't mean I'm perfect. Progress don't mean I'm there. Progress means I'm getting better. Because better and better adds up to being the best you that you can be. But the best is not existing because you're always going to get better. So get you this peaceful reminder right here to say, hey, all I gotta do is be a little bit better, 1% better, and I'll get to that goal at some point. So remember, it's about the entire journey and not just the end goal. Because progress is the only goal. Okay, so talking about communication, right? Um, you're a more extroverted guy. So when you have team lifts going on, right? How do you communicate to all the guys on the team effectively? Because you're extroverted, so you're going to be high energy, so on and so forth. But you have a couple guys who are more chill and they respond to certain things. So how do you still communicate to where all the guys on the roster can get the message that they need, how they need it, but still being you?
Well, from my biased perspective, too, I think, when you're training people in high school, college level, military level, you give them the workout. Everybody's gonna do the workout right away. Maybe in the pro sector, not everybody does the workout. Maybe they just sit on the bench. Maybe they're talking to other players. So I think first you got to be enthusiastic, clearly, concisely say these are our exercises. Here's our objective, so they know like how this exercise is going to benefit them. So enthusiasm, concisely and clearly saying what the objective is. And then now when it's time for the session in 15, 20 minutes, the people that want the high energy and a little bit of the rah-rah, you give it to them. Like, hey, come on, man. That's all the way you were doing last week. You were doing X amount. You injured now? What's up, man? Come on, bro. What's
Mhm.
good? You know, the the people who don't like, a lot of loud noise and they like just tell me what to do and I'll do it. You go over to them and sometimes you have a conversation outside the weight room, like, how's it going with the girlfriend? Hey, remember that one spot I told you about to take her for dinner? Did you take her there yet? And maybe the two or three players talking to each other. You let it go on, but at some point, be like, "Hey, fellas, y'all boys got to give me one or two sets. We got three sets here. You know." Or if your knee starts barking at you, don't get mad at me because you didn't do your tendon loading. And sometimes you get all buy-in. Sometimes you only get 80% buy-in from session to session. But again, it's a negotiation. As long as you put it out there, it's up for the people to do what they're supposed to do.
Mm. I like that because I always think about that sometimes because I'm more introverted and I'm more of a laid back, chill guy. And I've had situations where people kind of wish I was a little bit more energetic and a little bit more, enthusiastic and stuff. And not to say I don't care, I always care, but I'm not going to give you the loud rah rah, screaming at you type stuff. I'm not going to get in your butt and cuss you out. Stuff like, nah, man, I'm gonna just talk to you, you know. And so I kind of been dealing with how do I still be effective to the person who does need more of that energy, but still be me because I'm not like gonna be all in your face chewing at you. I will like talk to you and let you know that you messing up. I'm not gonna yell at you and do it. So just kind of figuring out how to balance both of those with still being me. So
I
I'm gonna take
feel
that in
like,
mind.
yeah, I feel like if you learn empathy and you learn how to communicate with somebody, like when you ask them questions and they're under stress, do they talk to you in a calm manner or do they get loud and aggressive? When they work out, are they loud and aggressive? On the court, are they loud and aggressive? And that's the opposite of who you are. But if you pay attention to their body language and how they respond to stress, I think mimicking people is second nature. So you're not gonna
Mm,
do that to everybody, but you're gonna meet that person where it's at naturally. To me, um, if me being an extrovert, I'm not as like low key and as chill, but if somebody's always chill and you talk to them and how they respond to stress, they're a critical thinker and they speak to you things with a calm tone of voice. And in the weight room, even when they're under duress, they still have this calming personality and just think task specific. Same thing on the court. Then because I have empathy and I'm watching them in detail, it just naturally I mimic them.
mm,
So I think when you pay really, really close attention to people, even if they behave opposite of what you are, I think naturally you tend to mimic them.
mm,
Mirror neurons kind of explain that, but that's another topic for another day.
mm. I like that though, man. That's a real good one. Um, I want to get some other stuff with you, man. So anything else you want to say about this?
Um, I think we probably already touched on it, but I have a lot of people tell me like they're trying to break into basketball, they're trying to break into the military, or they're trying to break into certain jobs. And when I ask them like, yo, so what are you doing to get in that job? They tell me I just applied for it. I said, well, how bad do you want it? Did you dream about it before getting this particular job, living in this particular area? And they tell me no. Well, if you don't put the thought in your head and you don't create all the right actions, you still may get it through luck, but it may not happen in the time frame or a closer time frame than you want it. Um, this is kind of a side topic. I just read Coach K's book, and he told me about the power of dreaming. He said in 1999, Shane Battier was on his team. A lot of his guys left for the draft. Elton Brand and some other people. And Coach K knew that if a team was going to be good in 2000 and 2021, 2001, that Shane Battier is going to have to be the star of the team. Shane Battier was only averaging 8 points in 1999. So he had a conversation with Shane Battier at the end of the season and said, hey, Shane, for us to get to where we want to go in 2000, 2020, 2000, 2001, we need you to visualize you being the conference player of the year, maybe the best player in the year.
Mm,
And so I remember it's summertime. Coach K calls uh, Shane Battier up and it says, hey, Shane, while you're brushing your teeth this morning, did you envision yourself being the conference player of the year? Shane
mm,
Battier says, no, coach. Coach K hangs up. Very next day, while Shane's driving to work, hey, Shane, um, as you're driving to work, did you ever envision yourself dropping 30 points in Virginia? Shane Battier responds to Coach K, no, Coach K. Coach K hangs up. Shane Battier calls Coach K back and said, hey, Coach, please don't hang up on me. Please don't hang up on me. Coach K says, I'm not going to hang up on you if you don't hang up on yourself. We had a deal that you were going to envision yourself being the best player in the league, being the best defensive player in the league, and maybe having a chance to win all conference or player of the year. Come to find out, 2000, the very next year, Shane averages 18 points. I think by his senior year, he was defensive player of the year, and he was also player of the year. And it all starts with a vision. So I think whatever people want, it really starts with a dream. You have to think about it 5 minutes before you go to bed, at least 5 minutes in the morning as a routine. And then your dream has to be in detail. Exactly tell your brain, what do you really want to have?
Mm.
And then organically, when you get in conversations with people, when you're looking at social media, you start to see highways that help you get there. Now, this is kind of an abstract way of thinking, but if you kind of paint the picture in your head, I think things just happen naturally.
Mm. I like that, man. I was just listening to, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to today, but they were kind of saying how when they deal with certain situations, they don't go as the person that they are right now. They have different things to do. But said one thing that they do is go towards like the successful version of them, like the higher version of them. And they say, well, what would this person do in this situation? How would they handle the situation? And all they do is take the actions or say the things or start the habits that that person would have. And so he said, slowly start closing that gap to where this person that I am right now and the person that I want to be starts to become one at some point. He also said how he think about the 84-year-old him, to where it's like, man, I'm super old. Most old folks don't give a kid. They don't care nothing at all, bro. Like they don't
Man.
care what they dressing like, who they talking to, how they say
And you see Sir Charles Barkley, man, he's living
it.
proof. Charles be saying whatever comes to his mouth. I love it.
E- exactly, man. And so he was saying how if a certain stressor comes up, how would the 84-year-old me handle the situation? What would he say about this? And it's like, it's crazy because he probably wouldn't even care. So why am I caring about this now? He said it was crazy because that's literally me. The advice came from me because we're the same person. It's just a gap into the future. And so I think the visualization and seeing things through that lens too could be another tool that they could use.
Do you feel like a lot of people, they don't dream about what they want because they don't know how to dream, or they think they're kind of pessimistic? They're like, well, just because I think about it doesn't mean it's going to happen, because there's always an opposite. So if I dream this, there's a chance that I fail, and that's why they don't follow through. Like, you feel like people don't dream because they just never known how to dream, or because they're pessimistic and they're afraid of failure?
I think everyone knows how to dream, but I think you get to a point where you're not allowed to dream. And so this story example I always hear about sometimes is a baby never thinks they can't walk, no matter how long it takes them to walk. Like the 2-year-old can't walk in their brain. There's no doubt in their mind that they're not able to walk. It's just keep going through this process, keep trying to walk to mom, dad, guardian, whoever it is, to where I can walk because that's just what's supposed to happen. But when it comes to our dreams, we get fed doubt sometimes. You're not allowed. Well, why you want to go to the NBA? It's only such and such percentage of people go to the NBA. Well, why you want to be a strength coach? It's hard to be a strength coach and make it to the G League or pro or whatever. So you end up getting like this glass ceiling of your dream, so you're not even allowed to go after what you really want to.
Hey,
And
but
so,
you know what's crazy though? It's like you said, your dream. Like, if you really had a dream in your head,
mhm,
we're talking about strength, me being a strength coach. Like, if I had it in my head, the team plan A and the team plan B that I wanted to work for, I envisioned the city I was going to be in, the apartment or house I was going to get, and the role that I really wanted, whether it was a head strength coach or director of performance. And I hear other people tell me, and let's say I'm just personal training right now, I'm year two as a personal trainer, but I played basketball in college, that you'll never get to that role because it's only for the top 1%. How are they going to tell you what you can and can't get? Like, are they in your head? Like,
mhm.
did God create that dream for them? Like, nah, like, they probably have doubt because they don't see the highway that you built to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm not trying to talk crazy, but before Apple, IBM, smartphones, the computer, the TV, before all that shit was built, it all started with an idea, a dream. And
Mm-hmm.
somebody may not even known in detail how they were going to build it. They just started building and moving stuff, and that dream tends to get sharper. And next thing you know, you have this invention.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as you have a dream and you have it in detail, you always got to think positive. And I think what a lot of people when they get told no, or they don't get a call back from the job, or they do the interview and they don't get it, and they may try again, they get another interview, same job, they don't get it. They may try again, they don't get an interview, they don't get it. So after three
Mm-hmm.
times, people tend to quit. But like my first question is, like, you need failure for progress. It pushes you to the edge of your abilities. So when you didn't get the job, why didn't you get the job? Is it because you didn't have the skill set? It wasn't the right time? You didn't have the right network,
Mm-hmm.
or something else? But once you identify the possible problems, you look into your bag and say, is there something I can be better at? And once you get better at it, then you attack the same problem again.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you both a little bit better. Maybe you don't get it, but you get closer. You try again. So as long as you're always positive, and you know whatever somebody tells you no or failure, you just always see it as not yet, and you see, okay, so what is this perceived failure? There's no such thing as failing, but this perceived failure. What is the lesson behind it? Once you extract the lesson, you identify the solution to get there. Identify the solution and work towards it. Then you're one step closer to getting to your dreams.
Mm. And to go back to the question you asked me, and to kind of bring it full circle, it kind of goes down to who you have around you in the environment. Because, like you were saying, how
Yeah,
if you have someone telling you no, of course it'll hurt you some. But like you say, if you have the failures and everything and so on and so forth, it's like the right person to say, bro, that's expected. Like, you thought it was gonna get out the first try. What you thought? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like it makes it a little bit easier when you go through the failures and get the no's because, oh, I'm supposed to have a no, so that makes sense to me. But you only had that because you got the networks to have the right people around you that
for
can
sure.
give you that game to say, bro, I got 6 no's. You on your third no. Just chill out, relax, bro. Like, you're gonna get a job at some point.
You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. The
Mm-hmm.
5 people that you hang around the most, maybe it's at work, maybe it's a combination of work and your wife or your husband or your friends. The 5 people that you communicate the most. You show me your friends, I show your future. So they're all pessimists. They're all not making it in life, and
Mm-hmm.
they're always down themselves. No matter how positive you are, that shit is gonna seep into you because you have a relationship with them. So decide, remove them for your life.
Mm-hmm.
Be positive. Surround yourself with 5 people who have kind of the entrepreneurial type spirit or the type of personalities or network that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And when you surround, and maybe if they're not your friends, just study them. Watch how they behave. Ask them questions and have empathy. Because when you do that, you're starting to create a highway of
Mm-hmm.
how to get there. So if you can't, if you're stuck at work and you're stuck at your job, you're not happy, and you're trying to find something else, maybe first look at yourself. Like, am I positive? Maybe change that. What's my close circle nucleus?
Mm-hmm.
Even at work, maybe if you're a go getter, you only hang out with go getters
Yeah.
at your
Yeah.
work. If you're not a go getter, you hang out with non go getters.
Yeah.
So it just depends on what you want.
Yeah, I think that's what I tell my players and stuff sometimes too, man. Like, don't overcomplicate how to get better at certain skills. Like, it's simpler than what you think it is. And so, the example I love to give them is about shooting. So, if you want to become a better shooter, hang around like the shooters on your team. Like, hang around the shooters. Study who are the great shooters. What do they do? What are the process that they go through to become a great shooter? Not to say you're gonna be Steph Curry, but there's a reason Steph Curry got better at shooting. Like, he took X amount of shots when he was this years old. When he got pregame, before training, during practice. This is what he did. So you start to pick up on these habits of what you want to do. So You want to become a better ball handler. What do the great ball handlers do? You want to become a better shooter? What do they do? The defender, so on and so. Whatever you want to get better at, pick and choose who you want to be around and start studying them, even if it's from a distance. Like
For
be in that
sure.
environment because that's you can't escape your environment, bro. Like that's impossible, man. So a simple little hack of like how to get better at this skill. Be around the people who are doing this skill, and you'll pick up so much little things that they can't tell you, but they just do. And at some point, you're gonna ask questions, and you're like, "Man, I'm finna go shoot, man. What you trying to do? Oh, let me guess I go shoot too. So I'm hanging around you. Like it's gonna rub off on you by osmosis, man. So the environment's a powerful thing, bro. Like we talked about before, relationships and networking is a very powerful thing.
I think even with that, it goes into learning. So I'm gonna kind of step from Coach K, like whether it's
Hmm.
true or not, like, you hear it. If you're trying to learn how to become a better ball handler, if somebody's telling you how to do this move, if you hear it, you tend to forget. If you see it, you have a tendency to remember better. But if you do it, you have a better chance to understand.
Hmm.
Because while you're doing it, you're still working on vision, you're still working on the vestibular system for balance and all the other stuff. And you're able to feel what feels wrong and what feels right. Feels, not think. And the more times you're able to feel more right, it starts to become automatic. And, you know, you're better, hopefully.
Yeah. It's always the goal is to hopefully get better. You never exactly sure what you're doing, but you can always hope for the best, man. So this was a fun conversation, man. I like this one.
I appreciate it, man. Never stop learning, man. For me, always be curious and never stop learning. You
Mm.
know.
Yeah, man. So before we get out of here, man, I need you to be the spokesperson for the squadron real quick and tell everybody why they should come support and come to the Birmingham Squadron games.
Oh man, oh man. Well, you know, it's the dirty South, Birmingham. So we always bring the energy. We have a good nucleus as far as our performance staff goes. Players tend to change every year, but next year should be an exciting season. But that's all I got for that.
Yeah, man. I went to a game last year, man, and it was definitely fun to be in that environment, bro. It's different. Occasionally we have basketball here and there, man, but it's different when you seeing a pro level, basketball here. It's not NBA, of course, but it's still like a very high quality level of basketball, man. So I
Sure.
think it's fun to finally see it in Birmingham. So hopefully we can keep it there for a long time. More fans come out to support, man. So y'all need to go ahead and get your tickets to the Birmingham Squadron
Get
whenever
your
the
ticket.
season tickets come
Out of
out,
all the
man.
pro teams, we're probably the best out there. So that's my biased perspective.
I mean, it could be biased, it could be facts. It doesn't
Hey,
matter, man. I think
I'm gonna
it's
let the people decide that. I can't will them.
yeah, man. So go get your Birmingham Squadron tickets. Then shout them out, be like, yo, you was on the B-Ball Jones podcast, man. You did your thing, man. I like to talk. Like y'all should do that, man. Y'all get to see a celebrity right here. I mean, forget about the players, man. The strength coach is
Man,
a real celebrity for a squadron,
man,
man.
no, we're not celebrity. We're on the bottom of the totem pole. We try to make sure everything goes. You know,
Yeah, man. This was fun, man. I enjoyed this. But before we get out of here,
humility,
man. Huh?
work hard, nothing.
All
Hey,
right, cool. Anything else you want to get out your chest, man, before we get out of here?
man, that's all I got to say. Again, big shout out to Larry for connecting us. Big shout out to my major professor and Dr. Martino for kind of being a father figure. I graduated from the program 2015. Still talk to him almost on a weekly basis. Shout out to Cade, was with him in grad school, one of the smartest strength coaches out there. He's doing his thing on the private sector with pro athletes. Shout out to Corey Campbell. Shout out to all my mentors like Charlie Weingrove, Guido, Lauren Landau. The list goes on and on.
Hmm.
You know, keep your old mentors and try to build new ones as long as they go along your belief system. But
I like it, man. I like it. So that's it, man. It's a beautiful episode. That was fun. But the listeners, I need you to help me out here, man. I need you to go ahead and subscribe. hit the little button. YouTube watchers, just subscribe right there, man.
Man, subscribe to my boy's link, man. It's real. It's the real deal.
I got dope people like this coming on giving you game. Just go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss it. Like,
they got to get on game. You know what I'm saying?
Got to. So,
lose, you lose. You know.
Listen to him, man. This is a pro level guy right here giving you game, telling you stuff. Like, you can't miss out on the next person I have because it's gonna be even more game. Like, why miss on it? Just subscribe, hit the little bell, follow, whatever platform you on. Hit the button so you can like follow on with the podcast. Like, just do it, man. But you want to follow me personally? That's BeBall Jones. On social media, that's BeBall Jones. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Just social media. Type that in. I'm pretty sure I'll pop up. And of course, follow the guests, man. Like my guys on Instagram, Emeka.
Yeah, I don't post much, but you know, if you ever want to talk on the phone, you know, I'm the guy.
Yeah, just hit them up and be like, "Yo, you was fire on the podcast, bro. Like I felt what you talking about, man. Like I need to get my empathy up, man. I need to like, get a different perspective when I'm talking to people. So hit him up, let him know how dope he was because he was. You feel me? Like this is what we do. Like this is what we do over here. You feel me? So let him know what squadron game you coming to, so he can look out for you in the crowd, and you know we have fun with that, man. So but that's it, man. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Appreciate you, Emeka, for coming on. Means a lot.
Appreciate you, my guy.
Yes, sir. And shout out to Larry again, man. That's dope people, man. Larry's a dope dude, bro. Like, shout out to Larry. But that's it, man. Thank you guys for listening, watching. Appreciate you for coming on, and see you next week.